guys, and welcome to episode 2 of the Crafty Historian. This is where I talk about the crafty things in my life and add in a little bit of history at the end. In advance, I apologise if you hear any noises. It's the advantages of living in student housing. There are lots of people and they all bang around and make all sorts of nonsense going on. I've had a bit of a productive time since I last spoke to you. Term only started on Monday, so had a lot of time to knit and generally be a little bit crafty. So if you're new, hi, my name is Rachel and I'm at the University of York. If you're coming back, thank you so much. Yay! Means a lot to me. So I guess we should start with knitting, and I have another finished object this week. So Emma, if you're looking, look away and wait until I start talking about my works in progress. Look away, Emma. Emma, look away. Good girl. Okay, right. So this is Emma's Weasley jumper and it's finished. Isn't it beautiful? I talked about this in my last episode and it's turned out really well. I'm very happy with it. Got a little bit of colour work to fit there because I forgot to add the bottom, but otherwise we are done. You can see it's a very similar colour to the one that I'm wearing, which I also knitted. This is the brick pattern, I think. I'll link it below into what I'm wearing, but this is the Alison Hansel Weasley sweater, which I got from my book The Charmed Knits. It's knitted in Stylecraft acrylic in the colour petrol, I think. And yes, I'm so happy to have this done. It's only my second jumper and it's not for me, so it feels really nice to have that all done and dusted. One Christmas present, and it's only September, well, nearly October, but still. So that's what I finished, and now for my works in progresses. Another jumper, another present. I think last time I showed you I was working on the front, which as you can see is just a rectangle. It's the Velo free pattern. So it's got a small rib and then it's just straight stocking stitch up the side for until you've got about 100 rows, I think, and that's your front. And you do the same for the back. So I've only got about 30 more rows, I think, to go, and I can cast this off, and yeah, it's looking really good. I'm really happy with it. This is going to be a Christmas present for my sister. It's a very simple pattern to follow, so if you need something mindless, I really recommend this pattern. There isn't any shaping apart from in the arms, so there's no shaping for a neck, or there is some shaping in the sleeves, but there's no sort of sleeve bands, no raglan, no waist shaping because it's a cropped jumper. Yes, and I'm knitting this out of Stylecraft Special Aran in the burgundy colourway. So there's another one, and you know how I said I was going to practice again on some more acrylic yarn that someone had gifted me? I tried knitting on it and I didn't like it, so I ripped it out and started with a wool that I really did want to have a look at, which is this. This is going to be part of a pair of socks for my mum for Christmas. Isn't this wool beautiful? Look at those colours. So this is a navy, red, white, and it's in a self-striping. This is King Cole Zig Zag. Cannot remember at the moment which colourway because the ball band is currently in my yarn drawer and I didn't write it down on my list. So sorry about that, but it's 50% wool, 50% nylon. And it's another improvised pattern of my own. This time I cast on 60 stitches. I've done a twisted rib, which Miss Lavelli, Katie from the Inside Number 23 podcast, who is amazing. You should totally go and look at her. She does that ribbing and it feels stretchy but also tight enough that it will cling to your feet. I've been wearing my pair of socks and I found the ribbing has already stretched, so I'm trialing this. So that's my rib. There are 60 stitches, 12 rows of 1 by 1 twisted rib. I then kept going down here for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 rows of repeat. I did a short row heel, which actually turned out really well because I started it on the blue and I ended on the blue as well, so it's seamless coming back in practically. And then I did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 until I started my rounded toe shaping. Kitchener stitch I'm still new at. This is a little bit tight, I think. But yeah, I tried it on. It feels nice and tight, but then I've got bigger feet than my mum, so it'll be interesting if they do. They should fit her. If not, they'll fit my sister. But then my sister might not want knitted socks. They will fit someone, or we will stretch them. And I think they stretch of their own accord anyway. But I'm really happy with it. I had to get it cast off this week because on Saturday I'm going home and I want to take knitting on the train. And I can't be knitting of a Christmas present for either my mum or my sister because they'll see it, and I want to be knitting in front of the TV when I'm at home, so I had to get these off. So I've got one, and unfortunately it's now going to sit for a couple of weeks until it gets its partner, so I can take home, well, I need to cast on another pair for myself. Yes. So my improvised sock for my mum. And that's all the knitting I've been doing so far since I've seen you last. Now, no sewing again this week because I'm still waiting for my pincushion, another reason I'm going home. But again, I will just quickly plug. If you fancy a felt heart decoration to help fund a poor student through their degree, I sell little ones for £3 on my Etsy shop at McGlonesMcLovelies. I recently updated it, so hopefully there should be a couple in there that may spark your fancy. So moving on, scrapbooking. Now, on the 17th, I think it was the 17th, a Facebook group that I'm part of called the Young Scrappers, so I think it's anyone under the age of 26. We scrapbook. We had a Skype party where we scrapbooked together, and it was really fascinating. There were people from Australia, well, there's one girl from Australia, one from the Netherlands, and another one from the UK when I was on. But it ran for about 12 hours, so it covered all the time zones. So later on there were people from America, and it was really lovely to sort of get together and have that sort of crafty time with like-minded people. I managed to do 3 pages during the time that I was on. They are still in their plastic, so we'll see how it goes. I started off by doing a project life page. This is of the RAF Marham's Family's Day, and you can see, oh, there's some reflections, but you can see nice and simply. It came with a load of free stickers, my goodie bag, so of course I had to use them. A lot of the pictures were so dynamic, I left them, so the red arrow is just looking gorgeous. Tabs. There's always beat something. 9 Squadron, that was the one my daddy was on. More free stickers, and the Tornadoes. The Tornado 4 ship. They did a, what was it? A simulated battlefield. A simulated attack. I know it was a simulated attack, but whether it was a battlefield or a runway attack, I can't remember. Airfield, maybe. I can't remember. But these are what my daddy navigated in. So, yay! I did both sides of that. I also then, oh no, it was on the outside. I thought I got a hair trapped in the inside. This was for a challenge board that someone put up. This is of an afternoon tea that my best friend Emma, whose jumper that is, she had an afternoon tea for her 20th birthday. So I used some nice teacups and made this sort of confetti green. These aren't really the colours I use, but I think it turned out okay. So yes, there's that one. This one, oh, I'm going to take it out because it's gold foil and you need to see it. Look at that, it's shiny. This is called Hazy Days, and it was as we were walking to that afternoon tea. We've got wood letters, some Maggie Holmes floral pieces, this gorgeous shimmer paper. I cut out the back because I want to cut up these words. Doily, some arrows, and I've been experimenting with some watercolour splatters. Oh yes, I really like that one. And then I'll take this one out too, just because I can. I made another one for International Friends Day. I put up this Instagram picture of a collation of all the things I'd done with my friends that year. So, well, not just that year, there's some group pictures, but this is just an appreciation of how much I love my friends. So, yes, doing all sorts of lovely things. I really like this colour scheme, the black and the tealy green. It's really quite nice. There's a button there. I've been holding on to that button for ages because it didn't match anything, but it matches this paper perfectly. Oh, really lovely. So that's the scrapbooking that I've been doing, apart from ones that I have filmed. So if I filmed them, I will not show them, and hopefully they'll turn up later as process videos. Okay, so slight cut in, but this is my podcast. I can do what I want. I've got my colouring book. This is the Harry Potter colouring book, the first one that came out. I got it for my birthday last year, but I've been doing something slightly different and watercolouring in some of these pages. So this is the owl delivering Harry his letter with this gorgeous sort of William Morris pattern behind. That was so detailed, though it was a bit tricky. This one is the Beauxbatons shield crest, but I did actually film a video for that. It's only 2 minutes long, so if you get a chance, go take a look. It's really nice, and I love the sort of texture it's got to it. I added in some splatters, different shading. Love that one. I painted Hagrid. Look at his beard! Oh, yes. You can tell I'm quite proud of this one. And I even painted in this intricate design. I'm going to go out of the lines a couple of times, but it adds to that charm. I think it looks really effective, especially from far. Look at that, you can tell that's Hagrid. But my favourite one that I did had to be this double page spread of Ron and Harry in the Ford Anglia. Look at that. Even down to Harry's red and blue check jumper, texture on the leaves, the shine on that car, the clouds. I love the front here. Just looks so effective. They've got shading on their faces and their Hedwig just looks terrified. And I've got green for the leaves. Got the sky in there. I'm really happy how this turned out. I love it. I will be painting more pages in here. So many more. Which one? I think for big things like this, if you did it with pencils, it would take forever. This took me a few hours anyway, but the smaller ones, you can do it. I think I did it in about half an hour for the Beauxbatons one. I really want to do Hermione. I love Hermione. She's so sassy. So yes, we've got colouring in. Okay, now my section in my dreams is coming up now. So these are the things that I am lusting after, that I would really like to get my hands on, get working on. At the moment I'm on a sort of knitting kick, so my first one is a skein of Gamer Crafting's BB-8 yarn. It looks amazing and it's inspired by BB-8 from The Force Awakens, so it's got white and orange and grey. It just looks so cool. So that's Gamer Crafting on Etsy. I will link below. I'd also like to knit a pair of Hermione's everyday socks, but I'm scared that my tension will get messed up if as I'm still new to knitting socks, if I experiment using different stitch patterns, whether the tension will just go bleh. So if you've got any advice, that's part of the help me probably. Help me, how do you work textured socks without your tension going and you end up with your sock being too tight or too loose? I don't know. My second part in my help me is, what are minis for? I watch a lot of podcasters like Katie from Miss Lavelli, Kemper from the Junk Yarn podcast and things like that. And they get mini skeins. I know they knit them up into their Cozy Memories blankets and things, but is that all they're for? I don't quite understand what their purpose is. I mean, you end up with leftover yarn when you've knitted socks anyway. Why don't you just get enough yarn for a sock, knit your socks, and then use what's left over? Why do you get minis other than to knit blanket squares. And why are all the blanket squares different? I quite like symmetrical blankets, so I'm a bit confused. So anyone's got any insight, let me know. So that is all the crafty stuff that I've got today. History will be following shortly. And so if you're not interested, then I will understand, and if you're going to leave me, bye. But just as a reminder, my Ravelry name is RachelRavenclaw and my Instagram is RavenclawRachel. I'd love to have a chat if you want to send me a message. And thank you very much for listening. Bye. Right, so history. I've started doing my pre-reading for my modules. My modules this term are on the Global Reformation, which is the Catholic response to the Protestant Reformation. And then I've got the 100 Years' War. So this year I am talking about, not this year, this week, I am talking about the 100 Years' War. And I've been reading a book by Christopher Almond called The 100 Years' War, England and France at War. So I've got just a little insight here for you on the origins of the 100 Years' War, what really caused it, and what really triggered off this prolonged battle. So the main issue that caused the 100 Years' War was that England claimed rule over Aquitaine and Normandy. These were historical claims. So Eleanor of Aquitaine, who I think it was Richard the First. I think she married, or no, she mothered. I don't know. It's something like the 14th century back, or the 12th. I can't remember. But Eleanor of Aquitaine inherited Aquitaine and then married an English king. So that's their claim for the province of Aquitaine. And the English claim for Normandy dates back to the Normans from 1066, when William of Normandy was crowned King of England. So historically, England had ties to those two provinces. However, they were only dukes of those provinces, and in the feudal system you had to pay then tithes and obey the overall law, so the king. But England didn't want to owe their allegiance to France. They didn't want to have to pay to France. They wanted to rule their provinces independently. So, in a nutshell, France confiscated Aquitaine in 1337 and told the English, if you want it back, you've got to do as I tell you, and you can't fight for anybody that is against me, yada yada yada. English didn't like it. They didn't like having their land taken away from them. They didn't like having to always be tied to the French king. So if the French allied with the Scots, the English couldn't fight the Scots, which actually happened a lot. Yes. So in 1337, which is the typical date that most people take, I think, French confiscated Aquitaine because the English were refusing to cooperate. And we end up with this long, drawn-out process of the 100 Years' War, which actually lasted over 100 years. So you go through the phases of Black Prince, Joan of Arc, Le Dauphin, Burgundians, Henry VI, pretty much all the way up until eventually England loses pretty much everything. They are left with Calais. this isn't in my notes because I actually read the chapters on that after I wrote my notes, but yeah, it just kept going. At one point England was winning, then France was winning, and then England was winning again, and then Henry VI was crowned when he was 1 year old. His uncle was useless, and everything went pear-shaped. And that essentially also laid the foundations for the War of the Roses, which I will at some point include here, but it's long and complicated and I want to do it justice. So, yeah, 100 Years' War, all about some land, which most wars are, but this was basically England throwing a petty fit. The only reason they claimed for the French crown was because their toys got taken away from them, and they were like, no, I want to be king if you're going to take my land away. So yes, if you've just watched me embarrass myself, thank you. Please don't laugh at me too much. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this, and hopefully I'll see you again soon. Bye!